Okay, for the recording, welcome back. We are ACI Course 6, Class 8 on September 29, 2024. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They're gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that this is possible. We're learning how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And turn that intention back to your precious holy being. we know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. So thank you everyone who's completed their papers and sent them. I'm really grateful. And I'm rejoicing in that completion, especially this class, this course. So last class, we learned about one of Lord Buddha's previous lifetimes when he was this yogi, and he didn't do anything wrong. And the king was having his men cut his fingers and toes and hands off. And we're told that while it was happening, he understood the emptiness of the 3 spheres. But did he or did he not feel pain? And he said, this hurts. He felt pain while he understood the emptiness of the 3 spheres, meaning to understand that none of that was anything but his own seeds ripening from past similar behaviors to somebody else. Understanding that does not change the situation, and it doesn't stop getting your fingers and toes cut off from hurting. It's an important thing to understand, because misunderstanding emptiness would make us think, well, it's nothing but projections. It doesn't hurt when you're watching a movie and you're identifying with the hero of the movie, and the hero of the movie's getting something terrible happen to them, right? You're going, ew, 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 but you don't feel it. Projections are not make-believe. Projections are not, I just think it happens. Projections are real. And it hurts to have the projection, your fingers and toes cut off. So what's the helpfulness of understanding the emptiness of the three spheres? So that second question was, why didn't he feel any hatred at that moment? As the king's doing that to him. Well, his perception wasn't not, well, I can't say that. He did have the experience, the king doing that to him. But his emptiness of the three spheres awareness was so strongly understanding the king's doing that to him, forced to do so by the ripening of the yogi's own seeds. So having that state of mind strong enough, no matter how much it hurts, you won't blame the king, because you're blaming your own past deeds, seeds, for what the king is being made to do. And your compassion for the king would really arise. It wouldn't be, I think I should have compassion for the king, right? If we really understood, king's making terrible seeds, forced to do so by my seeds. My seeds are making him make a future for himself when he's just going to get cut up again and again and again. Kind of like a hell realm. We would go, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Thank you for burning off my seeds. Well, you know, I think these are the last ones. Thank you. But, oh my gosh, what you're making for yourself is terrible. And then we heard the deeper story, because if it's true that I love you, king, then, may I become intact, and the fingers and toes jump up, and right. And I mean, that's a pretty good way of changing the king's mind, don't you think? If we could do it, we would do it. So why didn't he have hatred? Why didn't he have anger? Because his wisdom was so strong. So, we could imagine he felt anger, but he wouldn't let himself act from it. Probably that was 10 lifetimes before, when something similar was happening. At this point, his emptiness of the three spheres was so strong and so direct that what arose in him was love for the king, not anger that he had to reinterpret. Okay. But it was a process that he had those seeds planted already. And in doing so, he broke the cycle. When we don't respond the way our ignorant habit wants us to respond, and we don't, we've broken the cycle. It takes many times of breaking the cycle to break the cycle, but every little bit helps. Third quiz question. Describe the emptiness of an arhat's mind. So arhat is someone who has no more seeds for mental afflictions or seeds for more. What that means is their seeds ripening, the awareness of their thoughts is such goodness that the information, the data that we label a specific thought, our merit is such that all of that data that we label as specific thoughts are specific thoughts that are pleasant, goodness. We have no more seeds ripening to be aware of the information that we label as a thought as a label that could be a negative thought, a thought that would lead me to a mental affliction. So the arhat's mind is also empty. Doesn't mean they don't have one. It means that they are aware that their very thoughts are ripening projections forced by their past seeds, and they no longer have karma and mental affliction seeds. They have merit seeds. So they still have thoughts. They still have experiences, but none of them can upset their peace of mind. They'll never be forced to perceive a thought as a negative thought. So we have learned that having the direct perception of emptiness makes us Arya, superior to how we've ever been before. And that Arya still perceives things as self-existent in them, from them, but no longer believes it. So the seeds that they're planting as they interact with their world are no longer being planted with the belief in self-existence the way they were being replanted before their direct perception of emptiness. Then last class, we talked about how we use that new wisdom to change our habitual behaviors in order to burn off our mentally afflicted behaviors and plant seeds for not mentally afflicted behaviors to move us along our path to nirvana or Buddhahood, depending on our goal. So this class is about reaching our paradise. A Buddha paradise is pretty much impossible for a human mind to conceive of. And what happens in the transformation is pretty much impossible for us to really conceive of accurately. But they don't say, well, because you can't understand it, we're not going to talk about it. They say, let me try to explain it to you so that you can have a puny little drachi about your Buddha paradise. A drachi is a mental image that will arise based on something that you've only heard about. And then those drachis grow. So they start out as puny little drachis, and they get stronger and stronger as we think about, what is this Buddha paradise and what is it going to be like, and to try to understand it. And then the idea is to use our growing understanding to grow the karmic goodness, the merit, that when that merit ripens, forces us to perceive a Buddha paradise, whether it's somebody else's or our own. And then we have a dunchi of it, and we perpetuate that dunchi by way of what we do there. So let's plant some drachis about Buddha paradise tonight. And then, as we think about how do drachis become dunchis, it would be something I've only heard about. If I'd never seen the Eiffel Tower in person, but I've heard about the Eiffel Tower, to make my drachi become a dunchi, I could go to Paris and stand there and look at the Eiffel Tower. It's like, wow, Eiffel Tower. And now I have Dunchi Eiffel Tower, even if I never see it again. Right? Every time I hear or think Eiffel Tower, boop, comes the Dunchi from having experienced it before. So we'll have drachis of Buddha paradise. And how do we get drachis to turn to Dunchis? We help somebody who has a drachi of something or some place experience that something or some place directly, because now they have a dunchi of it. And it doesn't have to be Buddha paradise. It can just be, gosh, I've never seen the Eiffel Tower. Okay, Sarani, let's go. I'll show you the Eiffel Tower. And you make a dunchi of me shifting from drachis to dunchis. Just a little subtle piece of the kinds of things we might want to be thinking about as we interact with the people in our world, especially powerful karmic objects, like parents and partners and teachers and etc. Can I help you experience something you've never experienced before? And then I wager you've already done that with a lot of people. And so there's some good rejoiceables there. It's true about reaching direct perception of emptiness too. Okay, so next in the sutra, Buddha says, if you ask that bodhisattva, like, what are you doing? And bodhisattva says, I'm trying to produce my Buddha paradise. Lord Buddha says, any bodhisattva who says that would not be speaking true. And that seems really disrespectful to the poor bodhisattva. But what's Buddha pointing out? It's on a couple of different levels. If the bodhisattva, professed bodhisattva, says, I'm sitting here creating my Buddha paradise, and that bodhisattva is thinking, first I'll build my central palace, and I'm going to make it out of glass block with crystals hanging so that the sun will shine. And then outside of that, I'm going to have 3 gardens and a football field. And outside of that, like, if they're sitting there on their meditation cushion, fantasizing about what they'd like in their Buddha paradise, then that bodhisattva is not speaking truly. Because creating your Buddha paradise is not about designing it on paper. And it's not about even imagining what it would be like. Although we do get to do that and should do that. In another way that the bodhisattva is not speaking true is dependent upon who's hearing them. So Buddha, the omniscient being, is hearing the bodhisattva and saying, yeah, bodhisattva, you don't have it right yet. So you really aren't speaking truly. Non-Buddha would hear the bodhisattva saying, I'm creating my Buddha paradise. And I would be hearing them as a self-existent them, making a self-existent Buddha paradise. And I would be hearing what they said wrongly. So, like, how does a bodhisattva create their Buddha paradise if they're not allowed to say, I'm creating my Buddha paradise? Do they just ignore it and assume it's going to happen? Technically, yes, but that bodhisattva can be deep in meditation, doing practices that are planting merit in their mind, such that when that merit ripens, the ripening will include their perception or projection of themselves in their Buddha paradise. So they could be in meditation creating their Buddha paradise. But if you ask them what they were doing, they would not say, "Oh, I'm creating my Buddha paradise." I don't know how they'd say it. "I'm planting seeds for some future Buddha paradise." That would be more accurate. No, it gets tedious if every time someone says, "What are you doing?" "I'm planting seeds for my future Buddhahood." Yeah, well, will you bring me the cup of tea I've been waiting for? It's like, no, no, I won't until your seeds ripen, and then I will. Right? So you get your seeds to ripen and you'll have that cup of tea that I've been making for you, but thinking about creating my Buddha paradise through my seeds, and I kind of got distracted from making the cup of tea, right? But so the idea is, if we think we create a Buddha paradise in some other way than through planting karmic seeds in our mind, technically merit seeds in our mind, then we're not making our Buddha paradise, no matter how clear and bright and beautiful is the imagined paradise that we can come up with. Because if this is what it's going to look like in it from it, it's not ever going to be like that. Right? It's going to be more beautiful, more exquisite, and more real because it's projected and not in it from it. So it gets really subtle because, yes, you're supposed to imagine, fantasize about what your Buddha paradise is going to be like. But include in your fantasy, none of it in it from it, right? All of it, my seeds ripening. What seeds do I need to make this Buddha paradise? It's going to have something to do with making things beautiful for other people, isn't it? It's not going to be having the blueprints for your crystal palace. You won't need to make blueprints. So there are two factors. One is it's called the practice of the Pure Land. It means keep your personal space really neat and clean. And we learned when we learned meditation practice, one of the preliminaries to a given meditation session is clean your room. Well, come on, I cleaned it yesterday. I cleaned it earlier. Clean your altar. I don't, to be honest with you. I look at it, it's like, oh, it's pretty clean. But it's lazy, it's sloppy. The other practice of a Pure Land is to help take care of a sacred place. So meaning a stupa, meaning a Dharma center, meaning, a place where the diamond cutter has been read, we'll learn later, to keep a sacred place nice and beautiful is even more powerful than to keep our own sacred place, because the sacredness affects more people. So, one might want to volunteer at Diamond Mountain before the program, clean the cabins up, clean the temple up, clean it up after every program because the people there just trash it, and clean the bathroom for the 100th time, all the while thinking, I'm making my Buddha paradise. Wait, I'm making the seeds for Buddha paradise. And it's a whole different state of mind than, how come people slop that water all over the mirror and don't wipe it off, right? I mean, our own mind can come up with all these grumblings as we're doing this, creating our own Buddha paradise. Why would we grumble? It's almost more goodness to care for the place than it is to sit in the teachings. Like, you get the teachings, the real teachings. by caring for the place. I can see Rocio's face. She's been there, done that. It's a practice of the Pure Land, creating your Buddha paradise. Okay. So I have vocabulary to share. Us, make us bigger. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. This. I think. Who am I missing? I have an arrow. There's somebody not here. Yeah. Can't get us all. Okay, here's our vocabulary. Dakpe Shingam. Often contracted to just Dakshing. It means pure realm. Pure realm. In Tibetan tradition, what other traditions call heaven, we call the pure realm. We call paradise. And there are other names for Dakshing. And it's a little bit hard. Like our minds want to say, there is a paradise called Ganden, and a paradise called Tushita, and a paradise called Okmin. And it would be both true and incorrect. They do have different appearances, but they are not different places in the sense that Ganden's over there. You get it by going up Highway 101 and turning left. And Tushita, you go straight. And Okmin, you turn right. It's not like that. They are, all of them, forced projections, right, out of the mind of the beings whose merit is ripening them. And so they have different qualities. They are all paradises, and different things are happening there. And each of us will eventually project a Ganden, project an Okmin, and I'm not sure where Tushita falls in there. We will all also project our own personal paradise. And they will all be unique to each of us. And they'll all be called Ganden and Okmin. We'll see. So to describe Buddha paradise and how it's created, Geshe Michael went to a teaching by Lord Maitreya to Arya Asanga that described how Lord Maitreya will I don't know how to say it, how Lord Maitreya will reach his pure land. So we're in Sutra. In Sutra, Lord Maitreya is a great bodhisattva, not yet fully enlightened being. Now, which one did Arya Asanga go visit? So not to worry about that. This all comes from the teaching that Asanga received called Uttara Tantra. It's not a tantra. It's a teaching on how one reaches Buddhahood and what it is to be a Buddha. It's a beautiful teaching if you haven't heard it. So it describes this, seems like a sequence of things, but it's like dominoes falling, really fast dominoes falling. So Lord Maitreya, the great Bodhisattva, will at some point reach his final moment of samsara, meaning the moments before he becomes totally enlightened. He will be in a place when that happens, right? I mean, he has to be somewhere. And the somewhere that he will be is a somewhere called Ganden, the heaven of bliss. So the scripture says the great Bodhisattva is staying in the heaven of bliss. Makes my mind think there's a heaven of bliss over here. The great Bodhisattva goes there and hangs out until he reaches that final moment of his samsara. Well, then, does that mean Ganden is in samsara? Because the Bodhisattva is still in samsara. And it's like, no, Ganden isn't in samsara or out of samsara because it's not a place. It's a ripening of the place the great Bodhisattva is in. Right? So it is a place from the Bodhisattva's projections, but it's not a place that you can find the exit from the highway and get there. Wherever the Bodhisattva is, when he reaches that last few moments of samsara, where they are, is being projected as this exquisite pure land called the heaven of bliss. Sounds nice. The scriptures say, as we learn about the 5 paths of reaching Buddhahood, we can comprehend them, we can imagine them, and we'll be close to accurate. But when we're hearing about and trying to imagine the Buddha paradises, these things we call paradises, Buddha will say in the sutra, we're nowhere close, right? So just include that in your thinking about them. You know, my idealization, and it's nowhere close to what's accurate. But if we don't try, we'll never approach it. Make the drachis. So Lord Maitreya is in his Ganden in these last moments, and they say he leaves an emanation there. He leaves an appearance there in Ganden. But he goes to Oakman. So it means that in Ganden, he's in this deep, deep, deep meditation. And whatever was there sitting on the cushion stays there. But the mind, the awareness, Maitreya Bodhisattva on the verge of Buddha paradise, now is ripening that being in this paradise called Oakman. Oakman means below none. So it's not really like he's gone somewhere, but his reality has shifted. And now he has made manifest his Dharmakaya in Oakman. What's the Dharmakaya? The emptiness of the mind and bodies of Buddha. So this shift from Bodhisattva in the last moments of samsara in Ganden, the mind shifts to mind and Dharmakaya, mind and the emptiness of mind in Oakman. Not a place Oakman, but a place coming out of those pure projections. They say it's important to say he makes manifest his Dharmakaya, mind and Dharmakaya, because the Dharmakaya doesn't develop it doesn't grow. It doesn't get brought about little by little. Right? It's an instant thing. The instant, the mind free of, how do I say it? Free of the obstacles to omniscience exists is the instant the Dharmakaya of that mind exists. So it is made manifest. It arises complete. And then the Nirmanakaya happens. So from that makes manifest Dharmakaya. The next thing that happens is he enters his mother's womb. He mayas, they say, M-A-Y-A. I didn't write it here. He makes the illusion. So it gets confusing. He just reached his full Buddhahood in Oakman. And then he pushes forth a little baby body in his mother's belly and has to be born and has to, get renunciation, has to try on for size a spiritual life that doesn't work and come to the conclusion that there must be a way that does work and reach the way that does work and then teach people the one that does work. It's called the 12 deeds of a Buddha. And the first of the 12 is entering a womb. Were they forced into a samsaric rebirth? No. Is it a samsaric rebirth? Seems like it. But it's all this illusion of a fully enlightened being sending forth an emanation in order to demonstrate what non-enlightened beings can do to reach their own enlightened state. So rather than a fully enlightened being just showing up in the world and saying, I'm a fully enlightened being, you should listen to me, this being goes through a samsaric life, making the mistakes, having the suffering, showing people what it is to suffer and what it is to wake up and stop suffering. If our own teachers have said, in response to our, like, I don't like this life, it goes wrong. If they go, yeah, I've been there, right? I've made that mistake too. We can relate to them. And if we see them as, I don't know, more peaceful, more calm, happier than me, and they're saying, look, I used to be just as suffering, maybe more hand. These practices do work. Took me 35 years, but not to worry, you right, can work faster for you. We can relate to those teachers better than if the teacher goes, yeah, I understand you're suffering, but I personally have never experienced it. Right? We'd get to a point where we go, well, you are not helpful if you don't know what it feels like, to be rejected by a partner. So the Buddhists do know, they have been there, done that for countless lifetimes, even as Buddhas. But they want to show us that even in this life where they seem to have just become Buddha, and so can teach us, they already did it. And I don't know, does that help us or not? It helps them. to be already Buddha as they go through this last demonstration of what we have to do to become Buddha too. Right? Is that clear? So Geshe-la said, there's an easier way to understand this. He said, think of it this way. There are several things that happen all at once when we, at the first moment of our enlightenment. One, like, so these are not 1, 2, 3, 4. This is this and this and this and this. It all is whoop, coming out of the seeds. You achieve your Oakman paradise. Because you made the seeds for it, it's ripening as where you are. When your seeds ripen, you in fully enlightened being. You have to be somewhere. And the somewhere is coming out of your seeds, and you will call it Oakman paradise. The paradise below none, meaning it's the greatest, okay? Most exquisite, unique to you. Yeah. And you will directly perceive the totality of knowable things. Do you remember that chart that we memorized in, I don't know, some previous class? All knowable things, changing things, unchanging things. In unchanging things, emptiness and empty space. In all changing things, material changing things. You remember that we wove them all down? And in that chart includes every possible existing thing. Funny that they were planting those seeds in our mind from the beginning, because as enlightened being, one of the things that spontaneously is happening is the ripening of knowing those things directly. Totality of all knowable things, it says. All deceptive reality in all 3 times. Is that alone omniscience? No. So we have Oakman, the totality of all appearing things, and we reach what's called the final limit. The final limit means the end of all suffering, meaning the end, the cessation of pervasive suffering, the 3rd suffering. Suffering of suffering, suffering of change, those were gone on 8th Bodhisattva Bhumi. Pervasive suffering is still the aging, illness, death. Forced rebirth has been gone also for a long time. But the pervasive aging, illness, dying doesn't cease until this moment. And we bring forth our Dharmakaya, meaning the emptiness of the 3 other bodies. Now that there are the 3 other bodies, paradise body, emanation body, actually we haven't talked about that yet, but it's coming. And the mind awareing of things, you have to have the emptiness of all those 3. You bring forth your Dharmakaya, and you become enlightened towards all dharmas. What they mean by that is that you are now then perceiving the appearing nature of all existing things and the emptiness nature of all existing things simultaneously. Leading up to that, we've been toggling. In meditation on emptiness, we're getting close to an awareness of emptiness directly again and again. Out of emptiness meditation, we're aware of everything coming out of our seeds. And so intellectually, we understand and things aren't anything other than that. But we're not seeing emptiness directly at the same time as we're seeing appearing reality directly. It takes an omniscient mind to do that. So all of these things are happening at once. So, and the body becomes enjoyment body. Enjoyment body means this, the visible body that your Buddha you will have will look like a solid body, but it's made of substance that's more subtle than light. And so what used to be your projection, my solid physical body, is now the projection, my body made of this subtler than light substance. They call it rainbow body or body of illusion. It is a body, but it doesn't have any of the restrictions and limitations of a physical body. And they say one achieves the cause for what will become in the next instant, the ability to emanate countless selves. So one needs to manifest their paradise body before that paradise body can send forth emanations. So they say this is all happening at the same time. However, this one little piece about emanations is happening a fraction of an instant later than these others. And then those emanations, they say you ripen the ability to emanate, but it's more like you ripen the emanations. Because to say it's an ability to emanate, that implies that you'd sit there in your paradise, am I going to emanate today or not? I can do it anywhere I want, but maybe not to them over there to them. And it's not like that. It's spontaneous, effortless, right? You'll be sending forth these aspects of you, emanations of you, to be what any being needs, regardless of whether that being can see you or know you or benefit from you. And it doesn't matter how long they have to wait for that being that they've manifested to finally go, oh, you're a Buddha emanation. Thank you so much. Right? Because the time doesn't matter. Their love is such that, I am that for you. Again, it's hard to conceive of, like impossible to conceive of, but try. Then lastly, we will do the 12 deeds of a Buddha. And the first of those 12 deeds is entering a suitable womb in order to manifest a suitable, apparently samsaric body that's not a samsaric body, in order to carry out what will appear to people to be those other 11 deeds of what it takes to become a Buddha, so that we can show the beings of that world what it takes to become a Buddha. And those are those, I don't have all 11, but you manifest being born. You manifest being dissatisfied with your life. You manifest leaving the homeland. You manifest following a spiritual path that you then find out to be ineffective. You then find the right path. You have your direct perception of emptiness. You do your path of habituation fairly swiftly. You sit down at the base of a tree. I'm not getting up until I'm fully enlightened. And then the Maras come and you fight them off and you reach your total enlightenment and you sit there going, nobody's going to believe this. So you stay there for 49 days. And then some voice from the sky, get up, go teach. It's what you did this for. And you go, okay. And you get up and you go looking for somebody who will listen to you. And you'll come across people. Whoa, what happened to you? You kind of shine. Yeah, let me tell you. Right? So we will all do that somewhere. Planet Earth, planet Xerxes, I don't know. Somewhere there's a world waiting. Geshe-la reminded us there are worlds where beings are not ripe for the Mahayana. You know, the idea of reaching one's own total Buddhahood, it would be like saying to Christians, you're supposed to become God. And they're going to go, oh, no, 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 right? I'm supposed to sit at the feet of God and serve God, not become God. What are you, crazy? Then there are worlds where beings maybe are ripe for Mahayana, but not for Vajrayana, not for the diamond way. And here we are with the projections of a world where at least some of us are ripe for Mahayana and Vajrayana because it's here, it's available to us. And Geshe-la said it is extremely rare to have that combination of projection. You know, his point is use it because we're not sure that it'll come around next time. So your homework. So all of that was your homework. 1. What are those things that happen all together at your Buddhahood? Okay. Second homework question, how come the truth of suffering does not exist in a Buddha paradise? Why does the truth of suffering not exist in a Buddha paradise? What's the truth of suffering? Yeah. That the truth of suffering is what makes samsara samsara. The truth of suffering is the misunderstanding that what we're experiencing now is in fact a result of something that we did towards another with a state of mind that was not understanding that what we were doing is a result of what we've seen ourselves do to another with a state of mind that doesn't understand that what's happening now is the result of something we've done to another with the state of mind that didn't understand. You see how stuck we are in samsara? Like it's a miracle to hear teachings that say we don't have to be stuck in samsara, right? Even as we're hearing that, misunderstanding it, it's still powerful enough seeds to move us towards the understanding. Ignorance is the truth of suffering. Not just not knowing something, but that active belief that self and other and interaction between are all in them from them. And so what I do to get what I want should work, but it doesn't. Well, sometimes it does. What I should do to get rid of what I don't want, I do whatever I need to do. It doesn't matter if I hurt somebody in the process. All driven by this misunderstanding. That process makes karma, and karma makes mental afflictions. As we work with our growing understanding of emptiness, we grow the goodness that ripens as our direct perception of emptiness. And now we use what we know to be true to burn off our seeds from all the past misperception and plant our seeds with growing wisdom, less and less ignorance, until there's no more ignorance that either ripens or is replanted. So once there's no more ignorance to ripen or replant, we don't even say that we're ripening and planting karma anymore. We are still imprinting the mind and exprinting. Now we call it merit because it has no ignorant component. Once the ignorant component has been destroyed or destroyed enough that it can't ripen, we are free of the truth of suffering. So a Buddha paradise, a being in Buddha paradise, that Buddha paradise, the being and the paradise the being is in, is coming out of that being's merit seeds and being replanted as more merit seeds. And by definition, merit means there's no misunderstanding. And if there's no misunderstanding, there is no suffering. So it's not that suffering gets blocked at the gateway to Buddha paradise and it can't come in. It's that there is none for that Buddha you in your Buddha paradise. And then you look at those other beings with you in your Buddha paradise, and you are also aware of them, not aware of themselves in the way you're seeing them. You're seeing them as pure. They're seeing themselves as still ignorant. But wait a minute, I don't see myself as ignorant. I see myself as in me, from me, and that's what we mean by ignorant. I misunderstand my me and my world for sure. And so my me and my world and my behavior perpetuates my misunderstanding and keeps me suffering. Right? All unnecessarily from the perspective of the Buddha, who's, wants to take me by the ankles and shake me upside down, just let all that crap out of you. Put me right back upside and I'll have it right. I used to say, just shake me out like a towel. You know, you take a bath towel and you go like this. Just, Lama, shake me out like a towel and get rid of all this crap, would you? I think they tried. All right. So what are those two things that cause suffering? Karma and mental afflictions. So it doesn't matter where we are. If we have karma and mental afflictions, we still have suffering. You can be on a beautiful Caribbean beach in the middle of the forest or in front of the angry yelling boss. Same. Suffering is still there. Different suffering, but suffering nonetheless. What are the two causes of Buddha paradise? Here they are. Munlam and Gewa. Oh, I'm past our break time. I'm so sorry. Let's take our break and then we'll do Munlam and Gewa. I'm stopping the share. Pausing recording. So Munlam means prayer, And Gewa means good deeds, meaning the virtue deeds that we do. So here we're using these two in the sense of the two causes for our Buddha paradise, meaning that a being who's on their way to their total enlightenment, we know we need to collect the goodness, the merit, to create that Buddha paradise. And so we make an action plan. So our Munlam is our mission statement as a bodhisattva. And we make this mission statement as specific as we can. Geshe-la's example was, I'm going to reach my total enlightenment on planet Earth. Then I'm going to teach people the basics and Tantra so they can reach it too. And then once you have your mission statement made, you hold that mission statement in mind as you set about to do the virtues intentionally, consciously, that fit with your mission statement. Yeah, we're choosing our behaviors highly consciously and conscientiously to fit our mission statement. And that's going to be the seeds that come together to create our Buddha paradise. So if a place is created by prayer and good deeds, meaning this virtuous intention and the virtuous deeds themselves, it can't be the truth of suffering. By definition, virtue means a good deed done with wisdom. If a place is created by karma and mental afflictions, it has to be a place that is the truth of suffering. It will have to suffer there. Obvious, suffering of change, pervasive. So the difference isn't the place. The difference is the seeds in the mind of the being ripening the place. So somebody could call Tucson, Tucson, and somebody else could be right next door and call it Oakman. And it would not be contradictory. So if it's karma and mental afflictions that come from it is what perpetuates our truth of suffering, how do we stop our karma and mental afflictions? We understand going through that doorway of the direct perception of emptiness is the only way to stop perpetuating our karma and mental afflictions. We need to have this direct experience that nothing about me, nothing about other, nothing about any experience has any nature that comes from its own side. Everything's existence is this indescribable potential to be anything that our ripening seeds force us to experience it as. So everything, every being, every moment of our me has this potential to be pure, to be free of karma and mental afflictions. When we make the karma, now called merit, to project things as pure, we will be forced to do so. So we learn to do it. And we train ourselves in doing it to get swifter and swifter at applying our wisdom in the midst of a situation where mental afflictions are arising, so that we at least choose a different response to them. And as we change our seeds in that way, our goodness grows, our ability to do so grows, our mental afflictions become less powerful. It becomes easier to choose a different response, or to not choose it at the time, but use a different response that you practiced on your meditation time. And it becomes this upward cycle of being able to do your new behaviors in the face of situations that are screaming for you to do your old behavior, and you're gaining the power to not do the old behavior. Slowly, we get rid of those mental afflictions because we don't replant them. It does start to happen even before direct perception of emptiness. It goes much more swiftly after direct perception of emptiness. So, like, that'll take a really long time. It will take a lot of yelling bosses. Bubbles, I see bubbles. I love bubbles. Bubbles and rainbows. So, we would want, it would be reasonable to go to our teacher that's teaching us about this and say that isn't there a faster way? Like, isn't there something I can do with these mental afflictions that doesn't require me to experience 10 million angry bosses before I can get rid of all these seeds? And they'll say, yes. There's the practice of the four forces, as taught by Lord Buddha in the sutra called the Sutra on the Four Dharmas, also called the Sutra on the Four Practices. The four practices are the four powers of purification. So we did how karma works in course 5. And if you remember, course 5 did not talk about purification. We did an extra class because our minds had gone there. And here's where it actually comes, is in this course 6. Now that we understand emptiness a little bit more deeply, the four powers of purification and our urge to want to use it has arisen, because we see that just burning off mental afflictions and not replanting is going to be just too slow, right? Even in sutra, which they say is the slow path, it's just too slow for a slow path. And so we want some tool that will help us speed up the process. And this four powers is the tool. So I don't think we had it in the Tibetan before, so we get to at least see that in this class. The four powers the first one is Tenkito. The second one is Numpar Sunjimpeto. Third one is Nyepe Le Larnde Dokpeto. And fourth one is Nyampo Kuntu Chupeto. Tenkito means the basis force, the foundation force. And we've learned that the foundation means recalling our refuge and bodhicitta. But the reason they call it the foundation is that we're going to these four forces practice because we realize that we have seeds in our mind that when they ripen, they are going to be ugly. Whatever those seeds are. For these practices, we're thinking of some specific ones, whether it's something we did 10 minutes ago or something we did 10 years ago or 10 lifetimes ago, we can still apply it. For the basis force, we recall our understanding of karma and emptiness and how the seeds we've planted will come back to harm us, and how we've pledged to take refuge in karma and emptiness, but I didn't do so well keeping my pledge when I was nasty back to the angry boss. So inside our refuge foundation is already a little bit of our regret, a little bit of our understanding application. The main thing is I return to my wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all beings, my wish to live my life according to karma and emptiness instead of according to my habit of selfishness. And I renew my effort. It's the power of our foundation. Go for refuge, but don't just use the words, I go for refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? It's not strong enough. Talk yourself through. I planted seeds that will come back to hurt me. I pledged to stop doing that. I did it anyway out of habit, and I'm back to trying again, right? This should lift us up, not push us down. The basis force. Second one is the force of regret. Nampar Sim Jimpe To. It means the rip it out force. And His Holiness calls it the force of the intelligent regret of an educated Buddhist. So this is where you go through again. You're recalling of the circumstances of that brought up the mental affliction, the recalling the feeling of the mental affliction, and recalling the automatic habit of responding in this way, and recalling that as a result of that, I've just replanted seeds in my mind for some similar unpleasant, upsetting thing, and feel that sense of regret, right? We heard about the three guys, right? Hot and tired, go into the bar, in a rush, we'll have that, blah, blah, blah. Clink, right? Salute down the hatch. The first guy drops over dead. The second guy drops over dead. The third guy has regret. It's not, oh, I'm so bad. Oh, I'll never do it right. It's, pardon my French, holy shit, right? And over he goes. So it's like when we yell back and then we're thinking about our day, that's the feeling we want to get. Is, oh, holy shit, I did it again. I mean, really make it strong, because that is what damages the seed. The seed's in there to bring up that sense of, I wish I hadn't done that. That's a new seed in relation to that old seed. And it pulls some power away from it. So we tend to want to avoid regret because it goes into shame and feel bad about myself and I'll never do it right. And blah, right, I've been there. And that's not the purpose at all. It's get this strong sense of regret, and that's enough for that seed to get a crack in it. And then it can't ripen in the way that it would have without the crack. Get that strong regret. The next one is Nyepa le larn dokpe top. There's that prenasal end. It's the force of restraint. We need to not repeat the deed in order for our foundation and our regret to have the power that we want to give it. Geshe-la said, without the power of restraint, these other three powers would just be, something our tradition says, do it and you'll feel better. about yourself. But we won't really stop the perpetuation of the truth of suffering if we don't stop repeating the deed. So the power of restraint becomes really important. And the power of restraint can be the most difficult. And our tendency is to say, okay, I have this problem with, yelling back. When anybody's upset with me, I yell at them. And I see that that's perpetuating everybody's upset. I really regret it. I'm just going to stop doing it. I'm never going to yell again. And, 5 minutes after you're off your meditation cushion, somebody does something and automatic pilot comes out. And then we've not only not completed our 4 powers, we've also lied to our own mind because we said we'd never do it again. And now we saw ourselves doing it again. So the teachings say, give yourself a power of restraint you can really do. Even if you were to say, my power of restraint over my, responding by yelling is going to be the next minute that I'm still on my cushion. Because you're all by yourself, you're not going to yell at anybody. So my power of restraint is the next 2 minutes. And then if you keep it, as you get off your cushion, yay, I kept my power of restraint. And then make it 3 minutes. And then the first minute off your cushion, just truly stretch it out as you know that you can keep it. So that your antidote force and your regret can have the power that they're designed to have. Otherwise, the regret puts a crack in the seed, and our not doing the power of restraint puts super glue in the crack, and that seed is back again and bigger because now we have the lying piece. Right? So be careful with your power of restraint and make it really puny so that you can keep it. And then make it again puny so that you can keep it. It's okay. Success is more important than bigness. Force of restraint. The 4th one here is Nyampo Kuntu Chupe Top, which is the force of the antidote. Now, in future teachings, we will come across these 4 powers again, and they'll be in a different order. You are welcome to use them in whatever order suits you best, inspires you best. But don't leave any of the 4 out. Sometimes the power of regret feels more important to do first before you go to your force of refuge and bodhicitta. And that then you want to apply your antidote because you're going to do your antidote on your meditation cushion and the restraint comes later. Others, the power of the antidote is something that's going to take time to actually apply. Right? So it depends on your situation, how you use those 4, in what order you use, and feel free to use it the way it works best for you. So the force of the antidote is the makeup activity, something we're going to do to make up for that negative seed we planted, in the sense that that negative seed is in there, we've cracked it. Now we want to put in seeds that are its opposite, because the opposite seeds will detract from its power as a negative. So if one's planting lying seeds and we want an antidote to our lying seeds, the antidote needs to be some powerful factor having to do with the opposite of lying. And so it would be, choosing some arena in which you really intentionally, carefully speak the truth, which could be, all right, when I teach this Dharma class and I'm sharing the truth of karma and emptiness, that's my antidote. Right? So it may not be a one-on-one correlation. We get a long list, not in this class, of things that can serve as the antidote. The most important one is studying, meditating on emptiness, because the empty nature of all existing things is the ultimate antidote to all suffering. To understand that there's no nature of its own, even in that negative seed, doesn't make it not a negative seed, but makes it such that it can be damaged, can be transformed into something else. So this sutra doesn't teach the four forces, but it does have a section where it says, if you study this sutra, the perfection of wisdom, you will suffer. Like I mentioned that at the beginning of class, because the goodness of studying emptiness and dependent origination at this level will stir up the pot of our negative karmas. And they say that a negative karma that was at the bottom of the pot, growing, could be a karmic seed that could ripen into a whole hell realm rebirth. When it's stirred forth earlier by way of the goodness of studying karma and emptiness, it ripens as a nasty headache or a flat tire, right? Or a problem at work. And when we can relate those two, our response will be, oh, headache, better than a lifetime in hell. Thank you very much. Oh, flat tire, gonna make me late for work. At least now I can call and say, I've got a late flat tire, I'm gonna be late. Used to be, we couldn't do that. Better than a lifetime in hell. And then carry on. Truly, it's helpful. Does it make the headache go away? No. Does it fix the flat tire? No. Does it change our state of mind in regards to it? Yes. You might have to say it over and over again. Still better than a lifetime in hell, right? As we wait for the flat tire guy to come. Still better than a lifetime in hell. It's an attitude shift that helps us replant our seeds in a less ignorant way. It's our emptiness understanding that helps prevent us from reacting badly. When we understand so clearly, so purely where situations come from, we will want to not respond in a way that will bring us an unpleasant, a similar result. Not just, I'll refuse. We won't even want to respond in the same old way. And so that's a clue as to how our practice is growing. When you find yourself in a situation that you expect yourself to be all upset over it, and you realize that upset isn't there. It's a big rejoiceable to say, wow, I used to get really upset in that situation, and this time I didn't. It doesn't mean you won't ever again. But make a note, right? And be happy. Wow, something I've been doing has made a difference because I didn't get as upset with them as I used to. Hooray. Also, a ripening from our Diamond Cutter Sutra study. Okay. I was supposed to read to you from the sutra. Oh. It's your reading 8 that's coming up. It says, O Subhuti, any son or daughter of noble family who takes up a sutra like this, who holds it, who reads it, who comprehends it fully will suffer. They will suffer intensely. Meaning they'll stir up their negative seeds, bringing us an opportunity to apply our new wisdom. But unpleasant things do happen. Kind of wear it like a badge of courage. Why is it so, says the sutra? Like, why do I say that? Because, O Subhuti, such beings are purifying non-virtuous karma from the entire string of their previous lifetimes, karma that would have taken them to the 3 lower realms. And as they purify this karma, it causes them to suffer here in this life. Sorry, Roxana. You can read it and do it. As such, they will succeed in cleaning away the karma of these non-virtuous deeds of their previous lifetimes, and they will as well achieve the enlightenment of the Buddha. So left to our own devices, we have to burn off those seeds and plant new. By studying karma and emptiness, we're stirring the pot. We do ripen some stuff, but by way of the 4 powers, we damage those seeds and don't have to ripen them to clear them out. That's the power of the 4 forces. Done well, seeds that would have sent us to a hell realm will give us a headache instead. Or seeds that either could have given us a hell realm or a headache are damaged so completely that no headache comes. Right? We don't have to ripen every seed we've ever planted if we do our 4 powers well. Okay. That's actually class 8. So we do have time for questions if you like. Yes, Lisa.
Thank you, Lama, for the teaching. Is it possible, like, for me, it's happening, the purification
So sorry.
very strongly. And I am having difficulties to think or believe at this moment in a Buddha paradise when I am not able to even have a like calm, normal life in this life. I just need maybe some inspirational words from your side in this moment, because I am really struggling with the believing that is possible.
Believing that it's possible to change?
Yeah, like you can really create a Buddha paradise when you are not able just to manage that at work people are going to get laid off, or that you can just have some furniture at home because everything that you order comes damaged, or that you can buy a car that doesn't get destroyed when they are cleaning it, or like, yeah.
Well, mm, on one level, uh, it could all be a whole lot worse. Doesn't seem like it, right? But we know there are places in the world where their places have been destroyed.
Yeah, it's luxury problems, and that makes me feel worse, that I feel bad when I know that this is just luxus problems, problems of the first world.
Right. Problems of the first world. Mm. So I can see how the teachings on creating a Buddha paradise would not be pertinent to someone who's in the midst of their samsara spiraling downward. No, because it's just too far out of reach. And still the understanding of how I respond creates my future is like our truth and our foundation. And if that truth and foundation makes you feel worse about yourself, then we would want to look at where is it that in your effort to help somebody, they're actually feeling worse about themselves. Not that you're causing it, but that's the result you're seeing. And then can you find that one place where your effort to help them seems to go wrong, and try different things to help them, or stop trying to help them, and just say, I'm here for you. I'm not going to go at you to fix you. I'm here to help. Come to me when you need me. Maybe it's an attitude shift like that, to see if you can shift your seeds of even the truth that I'm learning makes me feel bad because I can't really live it. And the harder I try, the worse things get, which actually is verification. But until we can see it as verification, it's just going to feel bad. I can't quite get it either. I kind of remember being in that place.
It's okay, thank you, Lama.
There's still this sense of the eight worldly thoughts. I can only be happy when this happens. I can only be happy if that doesn't happen. And it's so deep in us. Can't I be happy regardless?
The funny thing is that the more I try, I have this intention that whatever I am trying to do is to prove I say to others, but like if I'm very honest, it's to myself that this path is the right way. The more like life is kind of showing me it's not. Like I know what you're going to tell me, the gap and all this, but then it's so discouraging that you try to stop competition at work and then give and then being judged because you are being naive and then like all this, and what comes back is like you are losing more than before, and it's very discouraging. So I don't know. Yeah.
And yet there were those times that you have shared with me when your karmic seeds were ripening extraordinary.
Yeah, but it's just these glimpses of wow, and then it's
Well, how
this
many of those
chunk
do you
of
need
wow.
to prove to yourself that it works? How many of those do you need? It's like the miracle thing. Our tradition says don't do miracles, but because people will go, wow, a miracle, I believe. And then 6 months later, I need another miracle to believe in you, right? You're kind of in that frame of mind. You got a glimpse that it works, and then the crap keeps happening. I need another miracle before I'll believe again. And that's up to you, right? You want to stay in that mindset, or you can decide, wow, I proved it to myself once. Magic can happen. That maybe this is magic too. I'm just not recognizing it.
But it's just uncontrollable magic, so you cannot really repeat the trick. Anyway, sorry, I don't wanna take
No.
but thank you, Lama.
Anybody who has ideas for Luisa, please reach out to her.
Everybody that listens to these audios in the futures are going to see who was the poor Luisa asking all the time this question.
Oh, I should have stopped my recording. I'm so sorry.
No, I am okay with that. I am
You were
okay with
brave.
that. I really am okay with that. It's just that I find it funny that it's every time me who is asking questions, and then you ask who has who has an advice for Luisa.
Everybody's struggling.
Mm.
You're brave enough to share your struggle. That's nice.
Can I add something for Lisa?
Yes, please.
Yeah, maybe like in my case, I have also some purification with my accommodation, some other issues. Yeah, but I try to say myself that that is a good point to practice. Now we can really put into practice our wisdom. Well, I had lots of suffering before, and those situations like drove me nuts, and I did many wrongs in the previous similar situations. But now I know that blaming this other person will not give me anything good. And instead, I can cultivate this feeling of love to this person and change myself. Okay, I can look for another apartment, but the case of changing apartment will not solve the issue. I need to work on my seeds, and maybe all those negative ripenings in the future will be something the best that can happen for me to change myself, to change my seeds. So the worst is becoming the best because we are working internally, not moving apartments externally, because Buddha paradise is not with some coordinates. We are changing our seeds, and these bad situations may turn as the best situations to change our seeds, not to think that there are something self-existent on our autopilot. Yeah.
Right. And that the result we get in the moment is not the result of the seed planted. Right? That's also the place that you're in.
If I can say,
Go ahead.
Luisa, when I've been in the darkest places, I just go back to the basics and try to find rejoicing material around me because sometimes it's so dark and everything that I'm perceiving is wrong, is bad, is confused, is not what I want. And I just grab a little bit of rejoicing and then from there start to spark the rest of what I'm trying to change. But it's more simple, but it's, it works for me. So
Right.
maybe it can work for you too.
Yeah. Or gratitude, right?
Could I also add something?
Okay.
See, Luisa, you started a good wave of everybody wanting to help because we're all having the same seed. You realize that, right?
Group therapy here.
Yes, which I'm gonna tell you that I'm not having just like a few, like a little bit of a bump. I'm having more than a year of all health thing, financial things, all things are just garbage. And one, you should rejoice in realizing that you are purifying, that those things are coming to get out of your way. And
Nice.
the faster you'll just let it go of the judgment, the faster it will pass because your body biology and mechanism is to protect you. So that's what your brain is trying to do, but your consciousness is like something is off. That's the gaps that we're feeling. And I remember Geshe speaking one time about I listened to his talk about yoga, and he said that it's actually really good that we're sweating. People who don't sweat, they struggle to like release, like the idea of sweating in yoga is like you're purifying. So you are sweating right now all the things in life that needs to leave.
That's
That's what
right.
I try to tell myself.
Sweating it out. That's good. Well said.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank
So
you for
remember
that.
that person we wanted to be able to help. We learn stuff that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you? Really? Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please, please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, carry you, hug you, whatever you need. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. to share it with every being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom, filled with gratitude, filled with patience. And may it be so. So thank you very much. Ali, I'll send you a new link, huh? All right, I'm stopping the recording. Thank you for sending your papers, everybody.